Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we do a rundown of all the things announced at the DC FanDome.
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, that makes a man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Dez, but I wasn't great, so I'm the reboot of Dez, is what's going on here.
I'm Fox. I got nothing. I keep forgetting to come up with something. I'm the Fox of Steel.
The Fox of Steel.
Superman's
Steel
called
Fox,
the Man of
isn't,
Steel.
Yeah, isn't Steel Fox a something, though?
I'm sure it's a comic character somewhere.
It's gotta be, yeah. Hey, Call of Duty Cold War.
They've got another game coming out like they do
Yeah.
every year?
Yeah, Call
Cool.
of Duty Cold War. And
How long before Call of Duty just becomes like Madden, where it's just like Call of Duty 21, Call of Duty 22, Call of Duty 23?
I'm going to say 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
They released a trailer for Call of Duty World War.
Cold War.
Call of Duty Cold War, right? Call of Duty Cold War, showing a lot of like old communist reels and things,
It's actually Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Right. Things like saying things like, if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed things like Tiananmen Square.
Right.
It also played in China.
Hey, that's great. It's surprising that
It was
China
great
would allow that.
For about 8 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
And then no, China was like, no.
Oh, wait, we don't like this.
Absolutely not. And so China not only at first took out that section,
Sure.
but then dropped the entire preview altogether.
Are they gonna are they not gonna allow this to be sold there?
So there was a moment of, oh no, what is going to happen here? Well, to Call of Duty's devs and whatnot, they immediately were like, brand new trailer, cut all of that stuff out. And they cut
Cowards.
all of that stuff out and re-released it. You say cowards, the market of China is ginormous.
They want to sell. They want to sell their money or sell their game in.
My question is, did nobody think about that?
Doesn't seem like it. If that was their reaction, were they? Yeah, they're either their hope was nobody will notice, or they won't care, and both of those are ridiculous. So
yes,
the actual thing is now we didn't actually think about it.
That's gotta be right.
It's the only real logical outcome.
This is a place in which the president doesn't like Winnie the Pooh because people say that he looks like them. If people actually start coming after the history of their country, like
yeah, it's not gonna go well for you. No, they already don't teach their history in China. There's interviews and stuff that show like just the random person on the street isn't taught what they don't know what you when you say Tiananmen Square, they don't really know what you're referring to other than that place.
Can you imagine watching that preview and thinking to yourself, wow, that CG is really
That's
good.
amazing. Wow, that looks like old and grainy, like real film. And
or I wonder if that's footage from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, what is that footage from?
Oh man, that is a weird choice though. Let's show this in China. It will be fine.
And again, especially to a market that is that large. Maybe part of them because shooters aren't huge. I know. I guess China, they're still pretty big.
They're massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Japan.
Yeah.
That was my
Japan
first.
less so. Korea
Yeah.
massive still.
Yeah.
The largest like shooter in the world or MMO. I don't. Yeah, they're just as big there.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta think, guys.
It was a poor choice, and also I had other problems with there. It talks about like it literally just has like I don't know if this is the new trailer or not, but it has like CGI Reagan talking about like sending you to do war crimes, and it's just like, oh, let's hope they treat this in a. I'm wondering how they're going to approach that.
I wonder if the army will play it on Twitch.
Ooh. Oh man. Oh.
The answer is no. There's no possible way.
It's a weird choice. No, absolutely not. Which is, man, such an interesting choice, especially
so many layers right now
with the military and gaming. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who knows? Because
Weird
I'll never
choices.
play it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure we'll see.
Let's see what Twitter has to say about it.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, Fox, what's been going on in the world of news?
Well, there's a new Switch coming out.
Oh yeah. I did not read any of the articles. I saw exactly that.
The Pro model of the Switch, which apparently will be just better in processing power.
Okay.
Apparently, be able to play 4K.
Really?
Apparently, I don't know how many details have been released yet. But this seems as though it's likely going to be just like, hey, here's what we have in this next gen.
Right.
In the net, you guys are, here's the other systems are coming out. We're going to release an upgraded version of the Nintendo Switch. I don't like it.
Nintendo's are the masters of re-releasing their own product.
Sure, this one, I mean, every single developer, all three big developers have always released an quote-unquote upgraded version of their system.
But typically it's one upgrade of that console. So there'll be like the PS4, then the PS4 Pro, or the Xbox One, and then the Xbox One X. And
sure, well, they had that One S also. But
right, but in general, it's one more. Whereas Nintendo's released the Switch Lite, and now
the Switch Pro.
The Switch Pro.
Yeah. And I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it as long as, like, what's going to be frustrating is if there are Switch Pro games. Like, you can't play them with your Switch, which generally isn't how they do it, how systems do that. Like, there was no, PS4 Pro exclusives. But Nintendo, when they came out with the 3DS, there was like 4 different 3DSs, including the new Nintendo 3DS. And it's just like...
Well, the same thing with peripherals. With the Wii, there was the motion sensor.
Motion Pro or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it was. And there were games that required that as well.
Yeah, starting with Twilight Princess.
And again, Nintendo was the master of this.
They do that a lot.
Like, it's devious. It's like we always like laud Nintendo about being the nice ones, but
yeah. Well, it's devious only. I mean, I wouldn't say it's inherently devious. Every tech company releases upgrade. This is the Apple model. This is what they do. They release the same thing in various versions that one is better than the other.
I'm wondering if your point here is that Apple is not devious?
No, I'm saying, yeah, it sucks, but it's also nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it's true.
It's tech companies making money by selling their products more than once, which is, sure, devious, but also it's just a Switch. It's not like you have to buy another one, like you choose to or not. They would boot. Let's see. Oh, here's a list of things. It would Switch Pro console that would boost performance, battery life, and crucially display resolution, bringing 4K display support. I'm not going to unless it's, and the only way I would consider is we're also releasing Breath of the Wild 2 on it. I bought the Switch to play Breath of the Wild, and it would suck to have to buy a whole nother system. This early. It's only been 3 years since the Switch came out. 4 years, I guess, if it came out next year, which it will. It would just suck, like, okay, buy another console.
Yeah. I might, like, I am not very heavily, but lightly considering it. Number one, if it does output in 4K, I have a 4K TV.
Sure.
That'd be nice. But number two, just because that would mean the kids could play the Switch in the living room.
Oh, yeah,
and I
that'd
could
be
have
a
it in my
convenience
office.
factor,
It's just
for
convenience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, on the note of a company that is not devious, at least as far as I know, parent finds lack of diversity in Lego Duplo.
Oh.
So that's the title of this article. And this was a mom, and she just, in kind of self-evaluating, decides to herself, I want more diversity to be represented in my kids' toys.
Sure.
So her kid loves Duplo, and she goes in, and she looks through all her kids' toys and doesn't find anything but little white Duplos.
Uh-huh.
Goes to the store and finds nothing but it. Emails, writes whatever to Lego, and this is Lego's response. Lovely to hear you're teaching your son ethnic diversity. I have looked through our current Duplo sets and could not spot a set with different shades skin color available at the moment. No worries though. I went through our repertoire and picked out a new family for the young master builder. And just with one email, so essentially what they were saying is, hey, I've looked through all of our sets, and there are sets that have like just one skin color, and sets that have another none that have multiple skin colors. But you know what? I went through all of our stock and I grabbed a bunch, and I'm mailing them all to you free of charge. And so this woman has stepped up and just said, hey, I want ethnic diversity in my toys, in my kids' Duplo. And Lego said, cool, we're sending you some.
Well, they sent her some.
Right, they sent her some. Yes.
That's
I don't know if they do that for everybody, but
why not just make it like random? Like, there was, I forget what game it was, but there was a game that came out at some point where you had no control over the skin color of your character. You could customize your character, but the skin color was completely random, and it caused some controversy because some people didn't like that. Why not just do that? Like, hey, here's this Lego set. It comes with 4 different Duplo person figures. You open it up, then you see what they're just random. It's just, the machine puts 4 different ones in there, and maybe they're all white, maybe they're not. Who knows? It's random. Like, I
mean, that's a very, very good idea, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing that. I just don't think that's something that they felt they needed to consider.
Sure.
Until
that's
about
what we're
6 months ago.
All of this is happening right now. Right. It's like people weren't even thinking about it, and that's the issue. It's like, just remove the possibility. Just like create a random algorithm, and then be like, we don't actually even control this anymore. It's completely up to it. Like, the computer does it, and we've done it for a month now and tested the results, and it was leaning toward this, so we fixed it a little bit, and now it's completely random. And just take it out of your hands entirely, guys. Just don't even think about it.
That would be cool.
Speaking of Hugh Jackman, let's get into what we've been doing this week.
Okay, where is this going?
I realized I hadn't really been up to much this week as far as like movies and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. I've been doing a lot of editing. So I was like, I'll just pick a random movie on Netflix or just find something I've never seen. And I watched Swordfish.
Oh, man.
That movie
Speaking of John
sucked.
Travolta and Hugh Jackman, it is so ridiculous.
It was a bad movie, just to put it first.
Peak 90s.
That's what I'm saying. First, it's peak 90s. It's also peak Matrix.
Yes.
This movie would not have happened without The Matrix in many ways. It's a Warner Brothers movie, so is The Matrix, produced by Joel Silver, who produced The Matrix. Everything about it is also Matrix. It's got a green color palette. It's got like it's got a scene where it slows down. There's like an explosion and it slows down and does the circular bullet time thing. It's obviously about hacking in a big way.
Very computer-based.
In a much stupider way than The Matrix was. The Matrix was about hacking only in concept. It just showed people using computers, but it wasn't about the hacking. It was about the philosophy and the, whatever.
Right.
This one had so many scenes of...
He's computer clicking.
Yeah, clicking all the buttons
madly.
And just going... There's a hilarious scene. I've ruined everything right here.
I did a lot of DC stuff this past week. Okay. In fact, not even related to the fact that FanDome was happening.
You've been in the District of Columbia.
Yeah, that's what it was. The one thing that wasn't DC is I started a new book.
Alternating current.
Yes.
All right, that's all the DC jokes I have.
Well, good, because I want to tell you about a book that I started reading, and I need to be really pretentious about it. And so I need your silence for me to be,
all right.
be very pretentious. I started reading a book on philosophy. Called The Question of God by Dr. Armand Nicolai. It's one that I read like half of a long time ago and never actually got to finish, but it is a debate written. So here's the way it works. Dr. Armand Nicolai went into the historical writings and life and everything else of Sigmund Freud and C.S. Lewis. And then he takes their writings and he brings them as if they were debating one another into this book.
Interesting.
And not actual like literally them voices. So he does things like
takes their arguments and their ideas.
Yeah, Freud would say this, Freud would say this, Freud would say this.
Yeah.
But, Lewis would say this.
It's not alternate history. It's
right. And it is wonderful.
Huh. The only other thing I did is I finished Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh.
I finished the Tsushima tale.
And so obviously no spoilers, but overall, did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed it. The story was my favorite part. I was really concerned throughout the game because the premise of the game is that you are a samurai who your island is invaded by Mongols, and essentially you survive, but the vast majority of the samurai, the fighting, the soldiers essentially are killed in this. And so it is really up to you to take back this island from the Mongols, and you start doing things that are dishonorable according to the samurai, Bushido system. Although the word Bushido is never used in the game, so I don't know if that's specifically what was being talked about. But the concept of honor, the things you start doing, the stealthy, standard things you do in a stealth fighting game are dishonorable according to the rules of this.
Right.
Yeah. And so the whole game, I was a little worried that it would just be kind of ignored a little bit, that you would just start doing these things and there'd be some quick justification of, oh, you do what you have to to save your people, and so therefore you keep your honor. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And no spoilers, but it is heavily addressed.
Mm-hmm.
There are heavy consequences.
Interesting.
The end of the game was in my opinion, very good.
Are there multiple endings, or
there is a big choice you can make at the end.
Okay.
The biggest problem I think it had was that it was very repetitive as far as to a certain point.
Open world games are starting to suffer from that.
To a certain point, I stopped doing. I just was okay, I'm going to do the main story right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to platinum it. I'm in the process of doing everything else right now. But as far as my recording, as far as what's going to be on our channel, that's going to be the main story. And even the side quests all boil down to essentially go to this place, kill all the people.
That's everything that you have, right?
That's all I got. So
good, because I may talk about this for a little bit.
Okay, here we go.
So hopefully not too much, but it's DC related, so it's themed in our episode here.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I watched the last season of Arrow and what I thought was the last season of Flash.
No, the last season hasn't even come out yet. Even I know that.
For a while, there was talk of it being the last season of both of them.
Oh, okay.
And that they were going to pass it on to a lot of new shows that were coming out. Supergirl is much newer than the rest, but new shows like Black Lightning
or Legends of
Tomorrow, and a few of these other Stargirl is coming out pretty soon here. And so kind of passing it on to these other ones in the quote-unquote Arrowverse.
Yeah.
This is all called the Arrowverse. So that was what was being announced, and in this, what was supposed to be the last season, there was constant talk of the Monitor had let both Barry and Ollie know, you're gonna die. You're gonna die in the crisis.
Okay.
There's a crisis coming.
Hey, spoiler alert.
And you're gonna die. And so the whole seasons were them dealing with whatever big bad was that season, as well as them dealing with the legitimate end of their life. And there were episodes, and again, these seasons were some of the best, or these episodes in the season were some of the best character interactions, unfortunately laced with the classic monster of the week type stuff, like some cheese in there as well, but there was this character interactions of goodbyes and resolutions and things like that were really, really great. So anyway, this all comes up to the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover.
Right.
So if you guys don't know this, the Arrowverse every season has a big crossover ever since I think ever since Flash was created, the first season of Flash, there was at least one crossover episode per season. This year was classic Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you guys don't know that, it's like a 1985, I think, is when it came out, comic of how DC resolved a lot of their continuities and continuity issues.
It was a big universe reset, essentially.
Right. And as well as them allowing their characters from quote-unquote different universes to interact with each other. Oh, by the way, I'm going to spoil the crap out of the
Arrowverse Crisis.
The Arrowverse Crisis,
okay.
Yeah, and the Arrowverse in general. So, all this to say that the Crisis on Infinite Earths, if you are willing to accept dumb comic book stuff,
sure, there
was a lot of that. A lot of it. A tough amount to accept for me.
Yeah.
But to me, it's definitely they only have so much time, and it's what I consider the Marvel problem they want to give every single, or not the DC problem with their big crossovers in the DC universe.
Oh, yeah.
They want to give every character their due diligence and every character their moments of joy and happiness or whatever else. And it's really, really tough. But if you can get past some of that stuff, it's fantastic. Okay, I've spoken too much.
Let's move on to the nerdy gritty.
The nerdy gritty.
Before we get there, just real quick, like we usually do, want to give a big old plug here for our Patreon. That's dezandfox. Nope. It's
Patreon.com/dezandfox.
Patreon.com/dezandfox. If you go there, if you are listening to this anywhere aside from our YouTube channel, you might find out that we have a YouTube channel on which we have lots of videos.
We do.
On our Patreon, there are even more videos, bonus, playthroughs of games that didn't go on our YouTube, or we put on there early, or lots of stuff that just you're not going to see if you're on YouTube, just on our YouTube channel. What is also on there is what we call the director's cut of the Nerdy Gritty, which is an unedited version. We censor ourselves heavily because we swear like sailors all the time. It adds about 20 minutes of pure cursing into. No, it adds about 20 to 30 minutes of just us talking about the things we did this week, or
I literally don't know if I've uttered a curse word since like 2003.
Wait, hold on. Here we go. But
no,
I'm so sorry. No. The director's cut is the Nerdy Gritty, but about 20 to 30 minutes longer, usually. Extended version of the things we talk about at the beginning, the reviews we have of the stuff we've watched or whatever, the news stories we talk about a little bit longer. And it's just, if you enjoy the Nerdy Gritty and want to support us more, it's at our second tier, $5 a month. It also gets you access to all those extra videos from our YouTube channel. Just to let you know, we don't actually edit the Nerdy Gritty version.
Right.
The part after
You
this.
just said the Nerdy Gritty perversion.
Yep, the Nerdy Gritty perversion. That's the Nerdy Gritty After Dark. We record that separately. You'll the part that comes after this, you'll hear that's actually not edited down. That's really what we get together to talk about, really. And so we just want to have everybody in on that. But if you'd like to hear more, then go ahead and support us on our Patreon, $5 a month. If you cannot, if we understand times are tight, then any kind of support we really appreciate, whether that's just sharing with others, just liking on whatever platform you're hearing it on. We really appreciate any kind of support you can give us.
Thanks again, guys. Now let's really get down to that nerdy gritty.
So the DC FanDome happened. This would be, as of recording this, about 6 days ago, last weekend. It was an event in which DC took a day or two, essentially, to announce and reveal and talk about a whole lot of stuff that got coming up.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like a San Diego Comic-Con, but specifically for DC, or the Star Wars fan experience, things like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, hey, here's everything we got in the chamber coming up. And it was really interesting. They had a lot of stuff come out that was surprising, was good, was...
I'm not going to lie. I expected this to happen and for the majority of people to be like, we still don't care.
Yeah.
But
there was some
man,
exciting stuff
there's
in
some
there.
good stuff.
Even me, an admittedly Marvel-leaning comic fan, there was some stuff that I was just like, yeah, I'm into that. I'm down.
They brought some heat, man.
I'm down
they
for
did.
that. So what we're going to do today is quite simply just kind of go through some of the major stuff they announced and just kind of give our take on it and what we're excited, what we're a little hesitant about. But before that, I'm really curious about this whole FanDome. Was this something... I don't know if you know this or if there was even something to know. Was this something that was planned to be an actual like in-person event and was moved online only? Because to me, FanDome sounds like an event that happens in a dome arena, like a big thing. Oh, crap. Okay, now it's online, but we'll still call it FanDome.
I don't know. My guess, though, is that these are all the things they were going to announce at all the Comic-Cons and whatever else at different times.
Brought them
and
into
they just compiled it and made it the own DC thing.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. That's kind of what it felt like. In fact... I would be surprised if they said, oh, well, now actually let's do this, and kind of added to it some panels. They did a lot of stuff about comics that we won't really get into.
Right.
Not any huge announcements, unfortunately, but a lot of just panels and reunions even, talking about like just comics in general.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff. What we're going to talk about are some of like the movie announcements and the trailers and video game stuff that they got into. So without further ado, I'm going to go through. I have a list here of just kind of we're going to go in the order that they announced them.
And fair warning here, as somebody with a mild bias, I am in some way excited about literally every single thing on this list.
Sure, I'm not there.
Right.
But
you're a little bit more partial or
I am not
impartial.
Whatever. It's just whatever.
Right.
But let's just start from the first thing that they kind of talked about, and that is the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
This is the James Gunn movie.
This is DC's new thing where they take an old IP and put in front of it, and now it's different.
Can't wait for the Aquaman. So anyway, the Suicide Squad. This is still in the same universe. I would assume it's still got some returning characters and same actors playing them. But essentially, it feels like a redo. Let's try that again, shall we?
Let's take another shot.
Okay, give me your take on this one, because this is one that I'm like interested in, but not fully sold on.
So right off the bat, to me, my first immediate thought was like, "Ooh, they're trying to leverage these cameos for sure." They in the preview they had what, a dozen more, 15?
What they showed from this was not really a preview. It was just, hey, here are characters.
Right, here are all the people that are going to be playing somebody.
Playing them.
Right, and like I said, it had to be 15 different notable actors playing parts.
For the most part, yeah.
John Cena to Nathan Fillion.
It was a long list,
yeah. A long list
Idris
of people.
Elba's in there with,
right.
Margot Robbie coming back. Jai Courtney is as Boomerang Man or whatever his name is, Captain Boomerang.
And to me, I really, really foresee, kind of like happened in the first movie, 10 of them are going to die off right away.
Yeah, you only had like one or two not actually matter in the first one.
Right.
You had,
but there were only like 6 or 7 people.
Right. They had a smaller cast.
One. Yeah.
And you had one character like almost immediately die as kind of a comedic moment.
Yes.
Which is weird. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you there that they just from a filmmaking standpoint, it's really hard to support that many characters.
Yes.
Especially if they're not already established characters. So I don't know. It looked interesting though. It looked much better, even just this introduction of characters, than the first Suicide Squad.
Yes. Which, to be fair, I didn't consider the first Suicide Squad a bad movie. It had a lot of flaws, it really did, but also it had some fun things. And
I thought it was a bad movie.
You did?
With some clear signs of this could have been better.
Right.
I thought the editing was atrocious.
It failed from what a lot of the DC movies failed from, and that was struggling with its like kind of its heart and its spirit, like actually what it was aiming for. It definitely was disjointed in a lot of ways.
No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Lots of weird musical cuts and story restarts and characters being introduced 2 or 3 times, and
it just really, really struggled with that. I agree with you.
The weird thing was that with the first one, it felt like, it's funny because it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy came out.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, that's actually the kind of tone we want to hit, so let's try to make that happen. Oh, we failed? Let's just get James Gunn to make the next one anyway. Like, let's just go all for it. And it definitely had that flavor of, this is ridiculous and goofy, and it's going to be crass.
I'll say this.
In a funny way.
James Gunn is the perfect person for the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That's who the Suicide Squad is. That always has been that. It's these people who don't want to be doing this, but they have to. Like, what again, another thing the first one suffered from was they really, really tried to give these people redemption arcs, which is good. You still want that.
You still want to emotionally care for the people you're watching.
But they leaned so heavily into that right away.
Yeah.
Like right away.
It didn't work.
No, it didn't work.
Yeah, man. And also James Gunn is perfect because Guardians of the Galaxy, I emotionally cared about a freaking raccoon with a gun.
Yes.
And a giant tree man. Not from the start. Like, they were goofy at first, and then you really cared about them. And so when I see the Suicide Squad trailer, Polka Dot Man And Weasel, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cry about them, aren't I? You're gonna make me cry about Weasel. How are you gonna do that? It's gonna happen. I'm prepared for
That's
it.
Sean Gunn. Sean Gunn is Weasel.
I'm gonna cry over Weasel and Polka Dot Man.
Man.
And King Shark. King Shark was my favorite.
3 words. We are Groot. I was like,
Weasel are Groot.
Weasel are Groots. Weasel and Polka Dots. But I really, really think that this, again, the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Strategy, like the way that they made it.
Yeah, just the tone it hit and the idea.
Tone,
yeah.
I'm missing a word in my brain right
for
now.
A certain word,
right,
sure.
but that sort of tone and thought process is exactly what the Suicide Squad needs.
Yeah.
And one more like, no, these are bad people. Now they're gonna have some redemptive qualities.
Sure.
And there is still this thought process of Harley Quinn where she falls on that, morality issue.
Yeah.
She is going through this is her 3rd movie now. And so
yeah, she should be the Star-Lord of this. Where
yeah.
Not the most morally absolute person, but also you still care about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So no, I'm really excited for this. I think that they're going the exact right direction right now of just levy some cameos and then kill them off so you don't have to pay them a lot of money.
Or just don't kill them off.
Or side character them.
Side characters,
or
brief cameos.
But then let it be fun.
Let us have 3 or 4 characters that we really enjoy and really like and want to see succeed.
Yep. I'm excited for it. I really am.
Next one. Snyder Cut.
The Snyder
Cut. This is the one that I laugh about every time.
This was the one that when I said I am excited about in some way. I wanted to specify excited in some way. I am very curious. I will say this. At first, I was not. I did not give a crap. It was going to be bad, and I just want to forget about it. But they made some changes and did some things that made me genuinely curious.
They are more than doubling the length of this monstrosity.
It is a 4-part, 4-hour film, I guess?
Series?
Yeah, series.
It reminds me of not Django Unchained, Hateful Eight. They put an extended version of it on Netflix in 4 episodes.
Right.
And it was still one movie just cut up into 4.
Yeah.
And so that was I still think it's going to be terrible, the Snyder Cut. I think they're just working from I think Zack Snyder's ambition outweighs his abilities as a filmmaker. He's not really made a great movie in a very long time.
It's been a minute, yeah.
He did make some really great ones at the beginning, and largely they were just straight adaptations of other things. But I'm not confident that adding to it, making it longer, and just widening the grand epic scale is what seems like they're bringing in Darkseid and bringing in the Speed Force and all these things. I don't think that's going to be a positive addition to what was a very, very bad movie.
I disagree with that, and here's why. Number one, and we disagree on this, we've been over that 100 times, but number one, I think that's why Infinity War was such a, I'm not going to call it a failure on my part, but such a disappointment on my part.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
Yeah, it was so rushed. If they would have given it the 3.5 hours that they gave Endgame, I think it could have been a much better movie. A much better movie.
Endgame wasn't that long, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but yeah, it could have been much, much better for that. At the same time, I think a lot of the complaints that I had, again, I can only speak from personal experience here, about Justice League was how stupid some of these unexplained things were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the Speed Force, or like the moment where Flash just shows up to Bruce in a dream, or whatever that was. I don't know. There were a lot of things that...
Yeah, that was nonsensical.
Yeah, there were a lot of it's a great word. A lot of nonsensical things that happened in Justice League that could have been given some sense.
Yeah.
And with a little bit more time.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit, is that more time is not necessarily a bad thing. It actually could be a positive thing.
Yeah.
I think what what I more mean is that it seems like they're trying to up the ante.
Oh.
The grand scale of time travel with the Speed Force and Darkseid showing up and having alternate universes and all these things that just feels like, okay, no. I understand you might have been like bamboozled a little bit there, Zach, with what happened in the first one. I think there was some studio interference needing to keep the length of it down and all that. But still, like, do a better one first. like if this was the only movie that Zack Snyder had tried to make for DC and didn't do, like, no, Man of Steel wasn't very good either. Batman v Superman was a train wreck.
It was bad.
Like, this is like a weird amount of money and time to give to a director who has not really proven himself to be very good with your IP.
Yeah.
It's a weird choice, DC. And I think this is going to be the opposite of the Sonic moments when fan outcry made Sonic look better because they said that's not Sonic, and now it's okay. Well, let's give it to the fans, and it turns out they're going to waste a bunch. Wasting money isn't the same. They might make their money back, which might make it, but the quality of the product might not be that great, and we might see the opposite end of the let's let fans decide what happens here.
And yes, but at the same time, there are fans that have already decided they're going to like this.
Oh, sure. I've kind of already decided, and I'm not. Hopefully, I'll be, because I didn't like the first, the original version,
right?
But right. So I don't know. It's at least a very interesting moment in cinema.
It's exactly that to me. I'm really interested because this could set a lot of precedents for future things. Like
we'll see.
You're talking about. We talked earlier about streaming services owning movie theaters.
Yeah.
What if it's like, hey, come see the Netflix version in theaters, but then watch the 4-hour, 4-part version of it on Netflix after it releases.
That'd be interesting.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's next?
Black Adam.
Yeah, it was.
This was a little bit of nothing.
Yeah, I take back already my said about being excited about everything at least a little bit.
This looked like, I saw somebody in a comment somewhere describe it as like what they showed was kind of just like an animatic, like.
Yeah. Literally hand-drawn stuff.
Hand-drawn, and then The Rock narrating from he was playing, he's playing Black Adam and just talking about basically backstory of here's what happened to me or something like that. And I saw somebody comment, it's just like, it looks like a Mortal Kombat like story ending. Like a fighting game, like, where you have 40 different characters and everybody has, so they just make like quick hand-drawn animatics and stuff. It's like, that's kind of exactly what it was.
Twisted Metal 2 did the same thing.
All of them do that. Tekken doesn't sometimes, but
here's what it was. If there was a better actor to do the voiceover, I would have been excited. I'm still not sold on The Rock on this. Now, I have what I call the Heath Ledger rule, and that is you give every actor a chance because they might win an Oscar for the part. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give him a chance. Robert Pattinson, we're going to talk about that later. He looks like he might be great in this.
Sure.
So
he's a great actor.
Yeah, he is a great actor.
This is not the first movie he'll be good in.
No.
You just are, everybody thinks of Twilight. He's been in a whole lot more.
So really, at the end of the day, though, I'm ready to give Dwayne Johnson a chance.
At the end of the day, who cares? It's just a Black Adam movie. Like he's evil. He's evil Shazam. Who cares?
He's not. That's you're coming from somebody who doesn't know the comics. He's one of the most nuanced.
It's so easy.
Interesting
to get under
characters.
his skin when I talk about this. So easy. He's just evil Shazam. Okay, it's that simple. Let's move on though. Wonder Woman 1984. This isn't. They didn't announce anything. They just showed
a new trailer.
Which
the quote unquote final trailer.
And the only big difference was that it actually had Cheetah in it.
Right.
And so it wasn't really anything to write home about. Basically, the plot has already been figured out based on all the trailers.
Yeah.
What's his name has a magic stone that you can make wishes, and that's how what's his name will come back.
Yeah.
Chris Pine and Cheetah will be bad. And they'll fight each other.
There was a lot of discussion about Kristen Wiig as the choice for Cheetah in this, and we'll see. That's another one that
she's
I'm like.
She's a fine actress,
we'll
also.
She is. She's a fine actress.
She has good comedic timing. She's also been in some really good dramatic roles. This is a weird choice for her, though.
Right.
To play evil Cheetah.
Evil Wonder Woman.
Evil Wonder Woman. Yeah. Thank you. That's all she is. She's an evil Wonder Woman.
Evil Wonder Woman.
Thank you.
But really, the idea of Cheetah versus Wonder Woman throughout the comics has been like one of jealousy, that Wonder Woman is this entirely. It's almost, to put it in the Christian terms, the Satan versus Jesus type of thing, where one is trying to attain power just to say, I'm better than you, I can. And the other one is just trying to actually save and say, don't do this, don't do this. And so, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see a role in which Wonder Woman is trying to be a pacifist in it, but is often forced to not be. So we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I noticed now we get Chris Pine being the fish out of water.
Yeah,
Because Diane is the one who knows what life is like now.
she's been alive for
and he's the
few
one in
decades.
the 80s who doesn't know 80s
Yeah.
things. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be fine, probably.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
probably just as good as the first one.
Yeah,
Which is
I
pretty
think it'll be
good.
the same. Yeah, maybe not as good, but
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Let's move on. The
Yeah.
last three here are the really big ones that we're going to talk about a lot. Gotham Knights.
Woo!
You are all about this one.
Woo!
You have been on our Discord all about this one.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it looked pretty cool.
It looks real good. The gameplay. So essentially, here's what it is. If you played Batman Arkham Knights, the last one where they had polished it the most,
Yeah.
and then took out the stupid part with the
tank?
the Batmobile,
Bat tank?
the worst part of that game,
murder tank?
Why on earth did you put that thing in there? But
Weird choice.
but all the polished gameplay of that, and then you said full co-op, full campaign, 4 different playable characters.
Right.
Go.
Two-player co-op, to be clear.
Right, 2-player co-op.
But 4 different playable characters.
Yes. Man, I am
It feels like
down
it
for
feels
this.
like a fan game where it's like that's what people want. They want to play
Yes.
all these characters. They want to play. Yeah.
So it's supposed to be a little bit in the future.
No.
Oh,
Here's the thing: Gotham Knights is not in the Arkhamverse,
right. It's not an Arkham game.
which is weird because the next game we're going to talk about, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which is like it feels like it's backwards, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't know why it's not in the Arkhamverse. They
It
have to have a reason
so
for it.
it
I'm
feels
sure.
like they're so obviously leaning into it. Maybe it's just them lying. Who knows?
But it's supposed to be years after Batman has died.
Yes.
And
Jim Gordon is also dead.
Jim Gordon is also
this- in
dead.
this
Yeah.
timeline.
And so it's supposed to be quote unquote the future.
Yeah.
You know, these people have died, and now the Bat family,
The Bat
so
fam.
Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, and Red Hood, all have to take over Gotham, and they're finding old tech and upgrading it, as well as utilizing Justice League technology.
Sure.
That's how they can teleport, by the way, Justice
Sure.
League technology, to be able to do this stuff. And it looks real good.
Yeah, it looks like a
guys.
fun game. Those Arkham. It looks very much even if it's not in the same universe, it looks like it's the same game. You know, in the same line as those Arkham games as far as gameplay goes.
Yes.
and those were really great.
Very, very
well
good.
designed, very
Yes.
polished, very well streamlined games. So looked really fun. There's probably a lot of DLC on the future as far as more playable characters. There's a lot of people in the Bat family.
Yes, there are.
For being considered an emo loner, Batman has a lot of people that he's trained and has around him now. I mean, I'm thinking Batwoman. I'm thinking like you got Orphan, and all the different Robins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler. Even Kane Marco, Clayface has been part of the Bat family. It's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get him in there. So yeah, looked pretty cool. Hoping for a lot hoping to get a lot out of that one.
Yes, I'm excited.
Let's go to the other video game that they really announced was Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League.
Now, this is one that they only had
Only showed a cinematic.
a cinematic for, so we didn't get any gameplay, don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But to me, this again hits the Suicide Squad right on the head.
Sure.
Who they are, what they're supposed to be. It was a hilarious cinematic.
There's some funny moments.
It begins with Harley Quinn making her hand a person and walking, and then on her actual radio with the rest of the
Assuming Amanda Waller.
Amanda Wallace force and whatever
Sure.
else. Yeah. Saying, we're here, we're squad, we're going in. And her hand takes a duck behind a rock, but they're responding as if they're actually doing it. And it's them being slackers and not really wanting to do this, but expecting to. And it looks really fun.
Yeah, it was funny. My big question is how Superman shows up, he's under the control of Brainiac.
Right.
He kills a dude right in front of them.
But we know that we see Brainiac's ship and Superman is bad.
He's got the purple laser eyes just like the big ship has.
Yeah.
So it's pretty safe to assume that he's under the control of Superman or of Brainiac.
Right.
How in the crap are these 4 people supposed to ever, like, I'm not saying that they can't and it's bad because of it. I'm saying I'm really interested in their explanation of how they kill the Justice League. Why doesn't Superman right there just laser them to death and it's done? The game's over. Like, it's my problem with Harley Quinn in general being considered to be a main, like, she shows up in Justice League. She showed up in not Doomsday Clock, but the one about the crisis about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The one where there's a haven or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I forget what it was called. I read it and was kind of disappointed by it. But so
Oh,
she
man, I thought it
shows
was
up
great.
and she's fighting Blue Beetle, and it's just like, wait, how is she
Booster
even a
Gold.
threat? Booster Gold, one of those jerks. How is she even a threat to anybody? Like it's like in the first Suicide Squad movie. She had like the premise is, what if evil Superman shows up and they give Harley Quinn a baseball bat and say, "Go ahead," and he's like, "Why? What is that gonna do?"
That's just comic books, though. For decades,
Sure, you
Wolverine-
still have to deal with that, though. You still have to.
For decades, Wolverine fought Magneto, and all the comic people were like, "Why doesn't he just pull the metal out of his skin?
Sure.
Why doesn't he just pull the metal?"
Look.
And that never. There's so much with comic books that you just assume. You just
I understand.
do.
That doesn't explain it, though.
No.
Just letting it go, turn your brain off, is not an explanation. It's an excuse.
But that's something that you have to do. It's the suspension of disbelief.
Sure.
It's what you have to do for any work of fiction.
And I'm sure there's a way that they'll explain it. I mean, Injustice, they explain it.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't know what their explanation is in Injustice. Maybe it's just don't worry about it. I don't know. Maybe it's Superman chooses not to kill everybody. I don't know. I'm just really curious how they're going to make this compelling if your force is a guy with guns and a lady with or a guy with boomerangs and a shark man and a lady with a baseball bat, like against all powerful space god Superman and Brainiac. Like, I'm just really curious how that's going to work out.
I mean, and they've obviously done it a lot before.
It happens.
Sometimes not very well. Sometimes really
it
well
happens.
in the comics.
Right.
Yeah. So
here's the thing. I'm going to play this game.
yeah.
I'm also not using it as now the game's dumb, I'm not going to play it because it's in the Arkham lineup. It's Rocksteady. They have a really good,
Yes. Very
pedigree of games they've come
Yeah.
out with. So I'm really interested to see how that works.
Yeah. I will say that it's really a non-issue for me as long as they address it. They do need to address
Yeah,
it. I
if
agree with you
there's
on that.
no addressing, then it's just like, what are you doing?
If you just are able to, like, okay, now it's Superman fight time, and you're able to hit him with a baseball bat and it hurts him.
Right.
No.
Sure.
No.
Yeah. So I'm also curious because it's not going to be the same. Like, I think it's described as action adventure shooter in a lot of articles about it because all the main characters basically have guns that they use in some capacity. Yeah. So it'll probably be a little different than the Arkham series in the actual gameplay. So I really just want some gameplay. I want to see how it's actually going to play.
Agreed.
That'll make me more interested, I think.
All right, the last one on your list here is Gotham Knights, which I'm happy to keep talking about. So.
Nope. The last one on the list here is the Batman.
It's supposed to be. Fox didn't write that.
In the one I texted you on my list that I'm looking at, yes. We're talking about The Batman. This is Matt Reeves' new movie with not Christopher Nolan.
No, what with Christopher
Robert
Nolan?
Pattinson is
with
in
Christopher Nolan as Batman.
Robert Pattinson is in the new Chris Nolan movie, and Chris Nolan
Tenet.
directed
Yes.
Batman, the Dark Knight, or whatever, that trilogy. So anyway, man, this was probably my favorite out of everything.
It looked
that came out.
really, really good.
This might be, based on this trailer alone, of course, my favorite live action take on Batman.
Now, there is a fear that I have. Matt Reeves's repertoire includes the Planet of the Apes films, Cloverfield.
Wait, which Planet of the Apes? Like the
Dawn of the Planet of
new
the
ones?
Apes
Oh, the
and
newest ones?
War of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, interesting. The second two Planet of the
Conviction.
Apes movies of the new trilogy were very good. So,
well, more than anything to
Anyway.
me is they're all kind of edgelord movies, and it's pretty easy
Planet of the Apes isn't.
it's pretty easy to delve into the moral, we talked about moral neutrality last time. The moral neutrality, who's the bad guy, who's the monster, and all this type of stuff.
Sure.
And that's something that can be explored with Batman, and I just hope that they don't take an easy way out, I guess is really what I'm saying here. There's potential for this to be very, very good, but also potential for it to be canned.
I
hope it's not canned.
I'm hoping they're taking some inspiration, not a lot of inspiration, because Joker
Right.
was an edgelord movie. I'm hoping they're taking some inspiration from it, though, in kind of its grounding of comic book things.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight tried to do that a little bit, where it's like this gritty, realistic thing, and it succeeded to a certain extent. But the Joker really just was a movie about a guy, who had a real bad day, lots of days. And I'm hoping that this goes a little further. or takes that idea too. I'm hoping, like, I don't want there to be any weird, like, super weird gadgets. I want them to basically, I really wish they would take Bruce Wayne and him not even, like, I don't know what I want it to be extremely grounded in this guy who is kind of out of his element and still learning what he's attempting to do here. To still be in that rage mode of revenge and despair and grief, and to take it too far. And, you know, like, I want him to be a super broken character.
Which is who Batman is.
Always.
Yeah,
and
that's who Batman
unfortunately,
is.
Batman typically is that was the past. Now he's Justice Man.
Right.
And that's always the least interesting. Like, in the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman was the least interesting character in that entire series.
The villains
because
were
he
always
was
the best.
so easy to, like, well, we know what he wants. We know what he's doing. We know what he's going to do. And that's okay, but it doesn't make him any more interesting. He was a little better in the third one because he kind of had more of an arc. So I'm hoping that in this one, like, there's some things that I'm really excited for. I think his Batmobile in this one is, like, the epitome of what I want. Of, like, let's just take this car and kind of, like, make it a little cooler.
Yeah.
Make it a little more useful for a Batman to like, but it's not the Batmobile. It's just, it looks like a Trans Am that's been supercharged, you know? Like, it's not Tumblr, and it's not, you know, Tim Burton It's not a Batmobile. It's just a car he drives.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It looks very, very cool.
Right.
I'm also very excited for the Riddler as the villain, or one of the villains.
Sure. We all know Hush is going to be in there, right? We all know that character at the very beginning with the duct tape. That's Hush, right?
You think?
Oh, yeah. That ain't
All
the
right.
Riddler. He's got his face covered with duct tape. That's going to be Hush. Come on.
All
Come
right,
on,
we'll
son.
see. I mean, well, Hush doesn't cover his face with duct tape.
No, but he's covering his face. That's Hush. Come on, son.
I would just say Hush deserves his own full movie, but okay, we'll see. But what I'm going to say is the Riddler as a villain, because it is a very big opportunity for Jim
Carrey to come back and play his greatest role of all time.
The greatest role of all time. To display the detective side of Batman.
Yeah.
Now they're forcing him to have to solve things. They're forcing him to have to think about things.
Yeah.
And there was, like, one scene in, I think it was Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, when he pulls the bullet out.
The bullet out, and then, like,
does the
all
ballistics.
that
was a really cool scene.
It was really cool, man.
It's kind of nonsensical, but it was cool to see.
That's what crime procedurals
Right,
are, though,
I
in
understand.
general.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying it was something different than the rest of it was mostly him punching people.
Right. And that'd be so cool. I would love for it to be more of that, or even more Poirot style, just him, like, thinking and talking to Alfred, you know, like, here's what I'm thinking, and here are my thoughts, and this is the evidence that I have right now. Like, a lot of really in-depth detective work.
Right.
I think that'd be awesome. Like, that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Is what I want is more of a cerebral, like, the Joker was. And this is what I'm saying is the Joker was not a movie about the Joker to me. It wasn't about clown prince of crime,
right,
crazy chaos man. It was about a real person, obviously not a real person who just was destroyed by the system and had mental issues, and just this is what happened to him. And I want a Batman who's not trained in every single martial arts, and I want a Batman who, okay, he can be rich, sure, but he doesn't, like, buy all these fancy gadgets, and I want a Batman he's super young in this one, which I like, which is leaning into this. I want him to be, like, pursuing vengeance and not crazy. Like, I love that scene where it shows him punching a dude, because there's nothing fancy
visceral.
about it.
Man.
It's him punching a man, and then him falling to the ground, and him continuing to punch that guy because he's angry.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want a Batman who is a person who has decided to use this methodology to pursue vengeance, and I want him to be in the wrong at some points. I want this to be a Last of Us. Hey, Batman, stop. No, stop what you're doing. This isn't good. This isn't right. I understand, but this isn't right. That would be a much more interesting Batman to me. And I think we might get some of that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All in all, I am very pleased with the DC FanDome stuff. They had a lot of really good stuff to show. The stuff that I was the least excited about, I just didn't look great to me. I'm not going to say anything looked dumb at all. I'm not going to say that anything was something that I would dislike immediately offhand. Everything was at least a whatever, or we'll see. and at the most, I am like stoked. I am like,
Sure, yeah.
Stoked out of my mind for Gotham Knights. So, yeah, really, really good stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. The games look good. They're made by companies that have a decent pedigree. At least Gotham Knight. No, Rocksteady made Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady's great. Warner Brothers Games Studios is okay. They've made some good things. They made the Mad Max game, or at least produced it, didn't develop it. But they've had some good stuff, so I'm excited about those.
I think they also did the least good Batman Arkham, but still
game.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the producers. They didn't develop any of these. But yeah, the Batman I think was the thing that I was most interested in. I mean, you put a Nirvana song in your trailer.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna get me. Oh man, putting Leonard Cohen in the trailer for the Snyder Cut was just the. You said there was nothing dumb. That was dumb. That was the dumbest.
Why, hallelujah?
That was the worst choice. It made no sense.
No.
It also, he already used that song in Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
It also was like, I think he just likes Leonard Cohen because he referenced him in the Justice League.
In his defense, I'm not going to say this is 100% sure, but the vast majority of the time, a film production company will take the footage they have, and there are trailer making companies.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it wasn't Zack Snyder saying let's do this, but Zack Snyder has used Leonard Cohen in his movies.
Right.
That song, that song specifically, and referenced Leonard Cohen in Justice League in a newspaper. It talks about him on screen. It's weird. So it wasn't just random.
Right.
It wasn't random. But yeah, so most of it, I was like, okay, cool. I'm hoping that it all works out well.
Well, guys, let us know what you thought about FanDome. Let us know what you thought about all the previews and trailers and everything that came out. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate you guys' support. We also want to say a big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and some of my neighbors do too, off of the album Dear Sam. It is a top-notch album. Go check out their stuff.
If you head over to our YouTube channel, you'll find a lot of content on there.
Yes.
Lots and lots. Right now, currently, our Last of Us Part 2 playthrough is finishing up. We're about done with that one. Well, as of this when this releases,
when
it will
you're
be
listening
over.
to this,
When you're listening to
the
it,
day that this releases is also the final
finish,
day. Yeah.
But our playthrough of Spiritfarer, a really cool indie game about death, is we're in the midst of that. My playthrough of the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy is in there, so if you want to laugh at me dying a lot, that's an option for you. And then after that, my Ghost of Tsushima playthrough is coming up, and then after that, my Assassin's Creed Origins is already coming up, and then after that, my Assassin's Creed.
Anyway, so
got a lot of videos going up there.
The date. So when you're listening to this right now, tomorrow I'll start putting out my episodes of Evan's Remains, which was a top-notch indie game that I played for a while now. It has been exclusive to our Patreon. So just so you know, if you guys are interested in jumping over to our Patreon, there is
for all you cheapos,
there is content that gets released early over there, or stuff that's still exclusive to Patreon. So yeah, thanks again, guys, for listening, and always remember that save games, save lives.
Bye, everybody.
My voice sings